We roll out on a busy Thursday morning. Hot Mike here. Of course, we're going to be in Tennessee for the Bison game. I know plenty of eyeballs will be in Grand Forks on Saturday afternoon. It's Potato Bowl weekend. UND off a monster comeback win against the University of Montana on Saturday night. Another Big Sky school comes to town is Idaho State will take on the Fighting Hawks with a 1 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Our pleasure to be back with us. Special teams coordinator at the University of North Dakota, Mr. Shawn Kostich, is good enough to join us. In between the last time you and I talked, your dad got some interview time with us on a special that Drew Trafton was doing about the Spuds. That was pretty cool to see him do that. It was awesome.
I was really grateful that happened. It was a great tribute to the history of Moorhead High, and I know that those are times he really holds near and dear, and what a great piece, and those type of things are really cool to see.
It's awesome. Just continue to appeal. Can they do all orange? Can we make that happen with the Spuds, right? That'd be a good look, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'll let the powers that be decide that, but I think you got to mix a little black in there too.
So I've got to ask first about Saturday before we look ahead to this week. When a game comes down to special teams like it did, how, for you as a coordinator, is that a dream or is that a nightmare because it's coming down to your position group?
You feel everything in between. I mean, there's a lot of emotions going through you, but I think that you would work as long as we do and meet as long as we meet just for the anticipation that you could make a difference. And there's no doubt about it that, there's some things that were really sloppy in our first game, special teams wise. And I thought our specialists performed better overall, and that kick was a big deal. And CJ stepped in there into a big role, and he just got the personality for that type of situation. He just doesn't, he doesn't get rattled. He just kind of goes with it. And I suppose much different than me in those instances.
So that was my next question. Do you watch? Do you have I know you're intense. Do you have your head down before the kick? What were you doing before the kick was made?
Every one of those situations, I'm always watching protection live.
Okay.
I just wait because our angle to see the kick, you really don't know until you see the officials because, unless you're standing all the way back there, it's tough in terms of a sideline view. But usually that's where my eyes are, and I just hope for the best.
So the kick is made. Do you celebrate at all, or are you worried about kickoff?
No, I'm sprinting right to the middle of the field because now we got to go cover because their returners were.
Yep.
I mean, that was no small feat getting those guys to the ground. They're good players.
To have CJ make a kick like that, what does that do confidence-wise? Obviously, it's high, but what can that do going forward, do you think?
Yeah, there's just no practice simulation for that moment. The closest thing we try to create is we just surround the entire 100 guys on the team, and then they watch them kick a field goal at the end of practice. But it's still nothing like being in the moment, great crowd, games on the line. I mean, it does miles for your confidence going forward.
Describe, Shawn, at halftime locker room. What was it like going in when it's 24/7?
Things weren't good. We weren't playing very well. And I think the biggest thing we were focused on is we knew we'd get the ball back, and it was just about that first drive. Just get something going on the first drive. And it's a great lesson to our kids, no matter what your circumstances are, you just keep fighting because until that thing's zero, you don't know.
How much did the crowd help out in that? I know you didn't do anything for them to get excited about in the first half, but once that Simon scored that touchdown, did it feel like things flipped in the game?
Yeah, we needed to do something to get them back, if that made sense. I mean, they were great the whole time, but, when you're performing the way we were in the first half, it kind of dwindles. And then after we get a score, now they're right back in it. And you just can't, as an offense, you can't communicate. It's hard to make changes. It's very tough, and a lot of FCS teams don't deal with noise, so when you have that type of environment, it can create a big environment for your team.
Can you explain what it is about that building? You've been up there hundreds of times, played in there. What is it about the Alaris that makes you guys just nearly unbeatable?
Yeah, Dale Lennon gave a speech to our team. I'm not sure if you heard about that, but he used the term Alaris magic, and there's something to that. I wish we didn't make things as interesting as we would at times. It'd be okay just to, but I'll tell you what, if you're spending the money to watch UND football at the Alaris, you're going to be entertained. There's no doubt about it.
You're getting your money's worth is right. Don't leave.
Doubt.
Do not leave early is the best way I can, especially at night as well. I like the evening game, man. There's something to that.
Yep, it was cool to be in that primetime slot. And, we don't have a lot of night games. We just don't get too many of them. But to be the game of the week or however they turned it, it was really cool, and it allowed a lot of fans to get in the building and tailgate and enjoy the whole experience.
Coming out of Iowa State, how do you grade a performance like that? I thought you guys, in my opinion, played really well. Offense had its struggles, but I thought of the whole, you guys had a pretty good game. How did you take yourself out of the Iowa State game, in your opinion?
Yeah. You got to point out the positives. You got to try to find, and you always play that game. Every team does. This play happens here, this play happens here, and it's really not that far off. And that was a talented defense that we went
Yeah.
against. I mean, those guys were big. That number 11, he's going to get drafted at some point. That was such a good DN. There's a lot of people, and we were able to hang in there and get the run going and establish some really long drives for our defense to get some things corrected. And that way you're playing complementary football. So we just didn't finish in the red zone.
Yeah.
And we finished a little bit better. And honestly, special teams wise, we weren't much help either. We could have been better that standpoint as well.
When you've seen Simon play through, you've seen him up close in practice through 2 games. Is this what you saw all fall camp?
Yeah, it was quite the quarterback competition, and I don't mean to speak on behalf of Coach Frichte, but I think he's someone that our guys rally around. He's just got that underdog deal to him, and there's nobody on our team that's not a Simon Rumfo fan because he works so hard, and he's just somebody that I think has the ability to make some plays, and he's been good for us.
You know the mantra into this game that you've had big wins and haven't been able to follow that up. How has that been communicated to the team this week?
That was the Sunday message. You basically just said it.
Mm.
That's fair criticism of our team, because there's been times where you get a big win in our program and we're unable to maintain the standard the next week. So we've definitely made our team aware of that. We've pointed out situations where if a guy hasn't gone through his same procedure, whether it be doing treatments the same way or preparing the same way, we're very specific about those examples because we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to be able to continue all the way through, but the way you do that is preparing the same way you would no matter who the opponent is. So something we're aware of and something we got to get fixed.
When you, as special teams coordinator for now looking ahead to this week's opponent, what are you, and on tape, what are you studying besides kick and punt returners? Or anything else, or is it black and white like that?
Yeah, all of it. I just, for example, if you want to talk specific about Idaho State,
Yeah.
some of the concerns, like they have 3 different guys that kick off, so that changes
Okay.
your plan of what you do. So that's going to be something to be aware of. They do an incredible job disguising their punt block pressures, so we've got to be on key of what are they doing and make sure we're being honest because you don't want to give something up there. And then with a team like this, you always have to stay in it because big picture you got to realize is that, offensively, they're one of the best passing attacks, in my understanding, in the country. And I don't study the offense as much as the D does,
Yeah.
but when you have a team like that, they're never out of it, so we got to make sure we're always finishing the game and staying ahead of things.
To have this stretch, and I talked with Bubba about this, Sean, before the season, to have this kind of stretch at home, the fact you're not even leaving North Dakota for like another month and a half, how unique, is it odd that you're not getting on a bus or anywhere or on a plane to travel anywhere for a while?
It is, and it's honestly a blessing. We're so appreciative of the administration because that's really what drives this. You can't get 4 home games in a row without their efforts. And, there were times in those Big Sky years where you'd be going to Utah one week and then Sacramento and California. I mean, you're getting back at 6 in the morning every single night. And the ability to sleep in your own bed and be able to get back up and just little things,
Yeah.
having dinner with your family that night, breakfast in the morning. I mean, it's just a nice routine, and there's no reason with all these elements that we shouldn't be able to get together and play better. And that's what we're communicating to our team.
This stretch here as well, this opportunity to continue to build momentum. I know we just talked about having another good game. How much? I know it's one game, but in the back of your mind, thinking, "Hey, we can put some things together here." Has that crossed your mind?
Yeah, that's always the hope that you go on a run and do all that. But the way you do that is you focus on what's in front of your face. If all of a sudden you're worried about 3 weeks down the line, then you won't get there. But, absolutely, we're in a wonderful position and opportunity. We're hoping that we could play well in this game like we did Saturday, and you put yourself in a position where if you just handle business each week, then it gets to that point. But to have anything but a single game focus, I don't know if you'll achieve what we're talking about.
Tell me about a guy or guys during camp that really grabbed your attention that are playing now. Say, okay, this guy maybe surprised me through fall camp that's now having a big role on your team.
Special teams wise,
Either way, whatever. If it's special teams or whatever that's come to your attention.
Yeah. I have so many, like, just if I went offensively first, it's the mainstays at tight end. I mean, Jaden Norby's doing such a good job, and Mason South is someone that stepped into a really big role, and that's part of the reason those 2 guys that we were able to get the run game going. They really did a nice job, and we're adding Quincy to some situations that help us out. And then from a special team standpoint, I think that Sawyer's done an excellent job returning the ball. He's not had a shot yet, but there's some explosiveness that you could compare to some past backs that we've had and say, boy, this guy's it might be one of the next ones in line, but he's just got to keep staying the course.
I may have asked you this, so I apologize the last time you were on, but now that we saw the NFL new kickoff, you're a great special teams mind. I am not. Is this coming to the college game, what we saw this past weekend?
Coach Schweigert said the other day, he's like, it's coming, just so you know. It's coming, just so you know. And I hope it doesn't. I'm not a fan of it, but if it does, I have to adapt, and it's not a choice of mine whether I like it or not. But I have not watched one play of NFL since the year started. Sunday's a huge work day for us. But just seeing some highlights, and it's just such a different deal. And really the game, NFL and college, they're not similar in many ways anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like you have one punt formation, you have a different kick and kick return. It's just even PATs are backed up. It's a very different game.
When nobody can move until the ball is touched, that how much of an advantage is that to the team trying to make a tackle, right? Or is it, how do you evaluate that?
Well, you can't have a head full of steam. You don't have a 40-yard head start. I would say that would be a negative kickoff-wise. I think kick return-wise, as you're playing the rep, it kind of reminds me a little way they do Canadian punt returns. Like you have to return the ball. They give you a halo. And so there's an element to that too, but it's something that like I wish I could speak more intelligently on it. Okay. Just like you're so locked into our plan and what we're doing, and it's just a dissimilar type of setup at this point.
Well, we got the 2-minute. I'll say I'm going to get in trouble. We have the 2-minute warning now in college ball. It only seems a matter of time, right, before this is going to happen, like Coach Schweigert told you.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Appreciate the time as always, bud. It's great to see you. Good luck on Saturday, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Take care.
Shawn Kostich, UND special teams coach. Pride Morad giving us a few minutes here on this Thursday morning. UND and Idaho State coming up on Saturday, 1 o'clock in the Potato Bowl. We'll see if UND can follow up after its big win against Montana. And Shawn pointed out, I thought it was well said on a question about trying to avoid a letdown. That's what's happened to the Fighting Hawks here when they've beaten teams like at North Dakota State last year, when they've had big wins, they've not been able to follow it up. We'll see if they can do that. They've got a stretch. I talked about it on Monday. These next 3 games, they're playing Idaho State. They have San Diego. And then their conference opener is Murray. All those games are in Grand Forks. They should be 4-1 when they come to Fargo in the first week of October. We'll break. We come back. We got a bunch of emails to catch up on, and we'll say goodbye on what's been a hectic Thursday morning show. Back after this.